All right. So we're 9:02 and I'm going to start us on time. Good morning, everybody. Um, Back away from the screen a little bit here. We're excited to welcome you. Can you believe it's our last Share a Latte of the year? We're really so grateful to Bank of America for presenting Share a Latte again this year. They've been an incredible supporter of ours over the years, and we continue to be really grateful. A couple of quick announcements. The Giving Tuesday CLT info share is next Thursday morning from 9 to 11. I think Sarah's going to pop that into the chat. So if you haven't RSVP'd, it is a great chance to start thinking about what you want to do. I did the math this morning. We're 6 weeks out from Giving Tuesday this week. And so it's actually a perfect time to start thinking about what you want to ask for. And had a great meeting with Sue and a group of nonprofit leaders who are going to share their best practices. Yes, anyway, we had a meeting yesterday and it was great. It's just an awesome time to get to be together and start putting together a permission. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm Julie Campbell, and I manage all the nonprofit partnerships. And I think I know all of you, but sometimes I'm sure there are a few I haven't met yet. So this is why we love this morning that we get to connect and make new friends. Okay, one other announcement before I turn it over to Melissa is that Interact Studios. Do any of you know Lou Solomon? I do. I love Lou and I love Interact Studio, and we partnered with them again this year to offer a 2-day workshop session. Y'all, these are valued at like $950. So corporations pay a lot of money to come and be trained to speak more authentically and to kind of hone in on your messaging when you do speak. So actually, Sarah is also going to put into the chat the form that you complete. It's a super easy form. If you're interested and want to take the deadline to apply for that is November 15th. And the dates are Thursday, December 16th from 1 to 4:30 and December 17th. All of this is in that information that she's putting in the chat right now. But I just encourage you, if you can take a break for some professional development, it is such a treat to get to spend time with Lou and her team. So I think those are all of my announcements. Y'all, if you haven't heard, we have a new managing director, and we're so excited about that. Melissa Hovey, it was announced this past week that she is going to take Share is 10 years old next year. And so looking at the decade ahead, Melissa and all of us are so excited to work together to just move forward. And we have some exciting things in the works. I'll shut up and turn it over to Melissa. Y'all know what that's hard for me. But I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to let her just say a few words. And we're all super excited.
Oh, thank you, Julie. And no, I am so excited, so honored to be in this position. And I am so thrilled about the evolution of Share. You know, like all of your organizations, we've gone through a lot of transition and rethinking things this past year about how do we stay true to our core mission of making it easy to do good and connecting the community to you. But how do we evolve and deepen those connections so that the community knows more about you and can connect with you and support you? And also bringing us all together. Like, we are so powerful as a sector together in helping our community. And I think that's just something that we all love so much, is having you all together and having this community together. And I will just say that I'm so honored to know all of you and be in a position to support you in this way. You guys inspire me so much in the fact that you and your organizations were the ones that say, there's a problem in this community and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to help solve it. And that to me is the most important and amazing aspect of what you do. So I am thrilled to be able to support you in this way and continue with the evolution of Share and work as a team to continue this work. So I'm just thrilled. So I'll turn it back over to Julie to kick us off, but thank you for all your wonderful messages of support. They mean more to me than you'll ever know. So thank you.
Awesome. So we're so excited that Darlene Heater and her team from University City Partners are with us today. I'm gonna introduce them in a few minutes, but before we do that, we try to stay true to what Share a Latte, how it began, which is getting to see some people and network, right? Like when we were in person, we would have a hard time corralling everybody to get started because everybody enjoys getting to visit with each other. So we will always enjoy this time of, we're going to go to a breakout room. There's a super easy question. If you'll just say your name, your title, who you're with, and then I'm thinking about place this morning, because we Share, as you know, is pretty hyper local, right? We partner with nonprofits who serve Mecklenburg County, and University City Partners feels like place, right? And so the questions that we have this morning when we go to breakout, y'all are gonna love it, it's super easy, is where do you live, what part of town, and then where do you work or serve? And then this question two is, what is one thing you love most about where you live? So I was thinking this might be a fun way to just sort of figure out if maybe you happen to be in the same neighborhood, or and make those connections. So without further ado, Caroline, if you'll send us to our breakout rooms, then we'll say hi to each other and then meet you back here in a few minutes. Welcome back. Are we all back, Caroline? Just about? Okay. Okay, so we're excited to welcome the University City Partners team as our special guest this morning. Many of you know Darlene Heater, who has a very long history of driving community growth and support at Center City Partners and then at University City Partners. She's been on the Share board for several years. She's been a big champion and supporter of so many nonprofits, and many of you may know her. Her A-team, Azania and Sean, are also with her this morning. That's what she calls them, so I'm going to call them that too. So without further ado, Darlene, I'm going to turn it over to you to share about University City Partners and all that you all are doing and what you're seeing, and how organizations might partner with you.
So good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many friendly faces, but also familiar faces. Greetings. It's been a long time since I've seen a lot of you. So I am the executive director of University City Partners. I've been in this role for 8 years. As many of you are probably aware, we're seeing tremendous amount of growth in University City. And so it's been an exciting 8 years. I would say the first 2 years were just preparing for the introduction of light rail service to our community. So it was a lot of kind of managing that beast. But for the last 5.5 years, we have just been kind of working with development, working with, we have a lot of big institutions in University City to help us build the city of our future. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the work of University City Partners and how we go about that. But then we also have an initiative that we started in University City 4 years ago called the U City Family Zone, which is really our community outreach that bridges what is University City proper with our neighbors to the south. So that includes Hidden Valley and Newell South. And we have been, as I mentioned, we've been at this work for 4 years. It has been the biggest joy of my life, working in these communities and really trying to understand how we connect, how we share our social capital, how we work with them to meet the needs in the community, and bringing them some expertise and some programming ideas that can help us really advance economic mobility and just general quality of life in these neighborhoods. So, and joining me today is Sean Klausner. He is with Third Rock Events. Sean is my event producer for everything that we do in University City. He also manages our social media. And Azania Heron is contracts with us, and she does all of our marketing, communication, branding, and which is our topic for today is really, how do you build a brand? How do you build a brand around inclusivity and diversity? And I hope your takeaway from today's conversation is, how do you show up in the neighborhoods that you're serving authentically, beyond the services that you deliver? So that'll be an interesting conversation that I'm excited to have with you all. So let's start first with University City Partners. We're a nonprofit organization. We're not a C3, we're a C4. So we contract with the city of Charlotte to grow University City. Every year we have to sign a contract with them. We have to tell them what we're going to do, what our priorities are, what we're expecting to see in growth around University City, what are some of the challenges that we're going to address. We have to present that to City Council. We have to report on it twice a year to city staff and City Council. And then at the end of the year, we have to show up and tell them how we did. So there's a lot of accountability to the work that we do. This organization's been in place for about 18 years. So I've been here 8 of the 18 years. And our work is really in 3 buckets. We do economic development, that's business growth. So we work with businesses that are here. We listen to them about how they want to grow. We make sure that they have access to talent. If they're having challenges with talent, we try to connect them with partners who can help them address those talent needs. If they have challenges with physical place, if they're having commute issues, we try to work with them to address some of those issues. We also do business recruitment. So I work with the city and the state as we're bringing companies to Charlotte, and we want to bring them to Charlotte. And my specific interest is I want to bring them to University City. I want to bring more jobs to this community. And then I want to be able to offer those jobs to everyone in our community. So we've had a lot of success in that realm over the last 8 years. We've had a lot of really great announcements, and through those announcements, we've been building the job opportunities in University City. And then the third bucket that we work in is marketing and communications and branding. And that is really a lot of that heavy lifting is done by Sean and Azania. We communicate pretty broadly with our constituents, with our many communities and the sub-communities in our communities. We have a newsletter that goes out. We do a lot through social media, but we also do programming in our community that convenes people, that allows people to come together and celebrate, what is community. So we do, I'm trying to remember now, I think that we have over 100 event days now in University City. When I started, we really just had 1 event in University City. You'll hear Sean talk about some of the big events that we do. We have 2 pretty significant events. One is the University City Wine Fest. That event is a fundraiser for our library. So it is a ticketed event. All of the proceeds beyond the expenses of that event, we write checks to not just the University City Library, but also to the Sugar Creek Library, which is part of our U City Family Zone. And then our other big event is Charlotte Kids Fest. And that event is in its 5th year. We do that in partnership with the university. So it takes place on the edge of the university. The last year it brought between 7,000 and 8,000 people. It is my heart because what we do is we bring programming to kids. And, our target market there is 2 to 10. And it's really around creating opportunities for young kids to explore things that they probably don't see or have access to every day in their community or through their schools. So it's a big focus on academics. We do a lot around STEM and the programming. The university students do all of the programming for us. So the chemistry students come out and they mix chemicals and things, create smoke, and the robotics students bring out a drone. And I mean, we have, I think, Sean, like 50 booths that are just manned by students that deliver that type of programming. We have cultural arts, cultural and performing arts. We have an opportunity for kids to do manipulatives and build and create. We have a lot of performing arts that are on stage, and I would say 95% of those performers are kids. So it's kids seeing what kids can do. And then there's just the fun aspect of it that we bring in face painters, like the really elaborate face painters and balloon artists, and everything is free. We raise sponsorship dollars, and it's all free, and it is an amazing event. This year we added another event called Charlotte Art Fest. We worked in partnership with Tommy Nichols, and it was really about bringing an art event to University City, but it is an art event that's led by our African-American community. So that one was a lot of fun. It was a 2-day event. It was our first year trying it. And it was very successful. Our Black community showed up in droves. They loved it. It had a big jazz component to it. But it also brought in a lot of our Black artists and a lot of our Black small businesses to benefit. And we do other smaller events. We have Food Truck Fridays, and we do events in partnership with the university, and Sean will talk a little bit more about that. So University City Partners, 3 buckets: planning and development, economic development, marketing and communications. And that's really how we build community. When I came to University City Partners 8 years ago, I shared with the board at that time that it was important to me that we not just build the physical space of University City, that we build community. And we build a community that is inclusive, that welcomes diversity, that celebrates our diversity, and that we work to protect that diversity. And for those of you who aren't as familiar or haven't been up to University City, where we are a diverse community, largely due to UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte is almost 33,000 students strong, a huge international population. Most of you may not know, but about 40% of the students at UNC Charlotte are first generation college students. I could get on my soapbox about how important this university is to providing opportunity to all in our community, and not just University City community, but in the region. Amazing organization, and we work really hard to lift our university up and celebrate what this university brings to the Charlotte region. So that's about University City Partners. And somebody asked, what were the 3 buckets? Planning and development, economic development, which is really around creating a good business environment and making sure our businesses are successful, and then marketing and communications. I mentioned to you that 4 years ago, we started an initiative called the U City Family Zone. And the start of the U City Family Zone followed on the heels of the riots in Charlotte, and really on the heels of the shooting that involved Keith Lamont Scott. And those riots, most folks think of the riots as being uptown, but the riots actually started in University City, because that's where the shooting occurred. And kind of post-mortem on that, I was talking to a lot of our faith community, and they were reaching out and trying to understand, one, how did this happen? How did we not understand what's happening in the communities around us? But how do we help this community heal? And at that time, we had an initiative of bringing business partners into our schools called University City Connect. I was working a lot with the university to really understand, before growth hit us, how do we build a resilient, sustainable, inclusive community, so that as development was coming to us, that we were responding in a way that helped us build that type of community. And I came upon a new professor. His name is Dr. Mark DeHaven. And he said to me, Darlene, all of these groups that you're convening that are working for the benefit of the community, if you coordinated the efforts of all of these different kind of disparate initiatives, you would be much more effective. And that was the birth of the U City Family Zone. So the U City Family Zone is organized around the social determinants of health, which is what we really had started working on, with an added component of really, how do we integrate our faith communities and our faith organizations into this work around the social determinants of health. So the U City Family Zone has a really, really strong partnership with the churches and faith organizations in Northeast Charlotte. And Brent Jones with Stonebridge Church, if y'all don't know him, he's my other A-team person on the U City Family Zone side. And I can't say enough wonderful things about him. So we started, we took the foundation of what we were doing with the U City Family Zone, and we started reaching out and creating a list of all of the nonprofits that were working in University City, Hidden Valley, and Newell South. And for those of you who have been in Charlotte for a long time, Hidden Valley has a very storied history, and there are a lot of people that want to come in and fix Hidden Valley. So we started connecting with the organizations that were working in this geography. So if you can picture a map, it's kind of a pie-shaped area in Northeast Charlotte. And we came up with a list of, I think, about 70 organizations. And through those conversations, we said, we just want to find out more about what you're doing, how you're doing it, so that maybe we can start to break down some of the walls and create more channels of communication so that everybody understands what everybody else is doing and we eliminate some duplication, but also that we can start working collaboratively. So we don't just have one nonprofit working on an issue, but maybe we start to piggyback other nonprofits who can bring value to that work. The first thing we did was we submitted a survey out to folks. And what we learned, we had really great response from it. And I think at this point, our list had grown to about 96 nonprofits and organizations, community organizations. 4% collaborated. 96 organizations, only 4% talk to or work with other community organizations. And this is all in this geography that serves 45,000 people. So we knew that there was a lot of work to be done and a lot of good work to be done that could really start to affect the level of impact that we were having in the community. So then we just started building capacity and trust within these organizations. We started convening folks and letting folks network, just like what Share Charlotte is doing, sharing information about the work that's happening in the communities. And those who reached back out to us, we started creating opportunities for them to figure out how can they collaborate. And I'm going to give you an example. We are now broken up into communities of practice, and those communities of practice are around the social determinants of health. I chair neighborhood and community development because that's my space that I know well. And we have a team of probably, I see Anika on the call, it's probably about 15 organizations that meet every month. And we talk about some of the greatest challenges in that community and what are the priorities of the neighborhoods, what are the priorities of the other, significant nonprofits that are charged with building infrastructure and capacity and livability. And then we identify ways that we're going to bring resources together to the community. So in our last meeting, these 15 organizations said, we have a big problem with gun violence. And a lot of this violence starts in our community, but is showing up in our schools. How can we start to create programs? And let's start first with former Vance High, which is now Chambers High. How do we start engaging with the youth in these schools that are from our neighborhoods so that we can start reducing the level of gun violence in our schools and in our communities? So now we're starting to look for organizations that have that priority. We are partnering with the university. They gave us an intern that is going to work with a couple of our nonprofits that are building programs around that. And they're also going to work on grants. So the other benefit of being part of the U City Family Zone is our university has resources and they help our nonprofit organizations write grants. So that is in a very, very tight nutshell, the work of the U City Family Zone is around bringing NPOs and community organizations together, understand what their mission is, how they're doing that, trying to inform the work that they're doing to make sure that the work that they're doing is really creating impact providing resources to support that work, creating opportunities for those nonprofits to collaborate and submit grants together. And then the other big thing that the university does is that they provide measurement, that they come along with our nonprofits and they say, okay, this is the work that you want to do. This is how we're recommending that you measure it. We're going to help you collect that data. And then that data rolls into the larger data set of everything that we're working on in the U-City Family Zone. So it's young work. You know, we've only been at this for 4 years. And as I said, it is the most favorite thing that I've done in my entire lifetime. I work with some incredible community leaders, community organizations. You know, we are constantly brainstorming and trying to figure out how we can better serve the needs that are in our community, but also how do we just improve quality of life? So I am going to now turn this conversation to Azania and Sean. And Azania is going to talk to you about how we celebrate the work of nonprofits in the University City community, how we engage with our nonprofit community, because we believe that our nonprofit community is part of our community. Whether they're located there or they're doing work there, they are part of our community and they're a very important part of our community. And then Sean's going to talk to you about how he's going to piggyback on Azania's work around communication and branding, but Sean's going to talk about how we do that through social media, and you know why that's important and how we believe that helps amplify how nonprofits are showing up in our community authentically, so that if you're not at that event, if you're not at that service opportunity, if you're not at that neighborhood meeting, that people still get to see what's happening in our community and how they're showing up. And then Sean's going to talk to you a little bit more about how we engage nonprofits in the events that we do. And then how those events also, you know, one of our criteria is that it needs to be inclusive. Our events need to have diversity. They need to welcome a diverse crowd, but they also need to look like our community, and our community is diverse. We're about 40% white, 40% Black, and I would say 15% Latina, and then the other 5% is a mixing pot of everything, of a lot of cultures and nationalities. So Azania, I'm going to let you take it away, and then when it's Sean's turn to talk, we're going to let Sean talk for a little bit, but then we have some pictures just to show you how this plays out.
Yeah, I didn't know if we would have a montage while we were speaking, but we'll get it in there. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Darlene. Darlene has shared so much. So I'm going to try not to be too repetitive, but I have been able to consult with, be a consultant for University Partners, work with Darlene Heater closely for, oh my gosh, maybe 6 years now, Darlene. So it's definitely been a tag team triple. It's been, don't let me get emotional, but yeah, I've loved working with her. And the backstory is I'm a University City resident. I relocated to the Charlotte area in 2007, came to University City, stayed in University City, had children here. You know, I'm raising my family. And I just thought it is such a nugget in this Charlotte community. And I don't think people really have an understanding and pulse for that. And so I presented myself to University City Partners like, hey, what are you guys doing? I know you're an economic development engine, but I know you're a significant player for getting us out there. What are your needs? How can I help? I have a real passion for this. And so essentially taking a step back and looking at what we currently have, how do we define the area, how is it perceived, and how do we really want to show up? And many of you may know, if you don't live in University City, it's like that area over there. Historically, especially, that's how it's appeared to be, this sort of edge part of Charlotte. It came from a very rural root. It was very isolated. UNC Charlotte was built in the middle of just land, lots of land. And now here it is where we have the Lynx Blue Line extension. We have tons of development happening. Even before the light rail came in, there's been such a rich community, great neighborhoods, the diversity that Darlene is speaking to. And that's one of the things that I love most about this area. So my charge was essentially to identify, how do we want to be perceived? How do we really want to show up? And how can we tell that story? And parts of those are the diversity that Darlene has spoken about. Obviously, being anchored by UNC Charlotte, it's a very educated community. We're rich in knowledge and skill and trade. It's innovative, it's forward moving. We are the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing parts of Charlotte. And there is lots that is happening here. There are small businesses that have opened that are thriving. There are mid-sized companies, major companies like Centene, which was the largest economic development announcement for the state of North Carolina, not even the Charlotte-Mecklenburg region, that's bringing in 6,000 jobs, $1 billion, right? There's just a lot of great things happening. And then the programming that Darlene has spoken about, to be able to have an annual festival just for children to come in and learn in a fun way, to engage with tons of community partners. Darlene listed off several of them. Sean can tell you, I think there's maybe 50 partners, if not more, program participants at the annual Kids Fest, where kids can engage. And then even the Wine Fest, bringing something kind of swanky, some new culture, having that extended off of a longtime wine shop that we have. The name of that is the Wine Vault, and having that out by the lake in University City. So really wanting to utilize what we already have, this lake center, this urban core, being able to get there off of mobile, through public transportation. There are just so many great things that we could leverage. And so where it comes into our partnership and working with nonprofits, like Darlene has said, not only the nonprofits, residents, anyone that is anchored in University City makes up the heart of University City. And so I have been fortunate enough to work with partners to be able to elevate these stories and to get them in front of our local publications, our TV stations, our print reporters, and then to share those stories in our newsletter. And so what that looks like is, for example, maybe we're talking about last year when we had COVID, right? There were many, many challenges. There was food insecurity. Oh, here we go. Some images. I thought I lost you guys. Sean's pulling in some images here. But during the pandemic, there were a lot of community needs that we needed to respond to. And so we were able to share some of those opportunities and the work that we were doing with local media. The fact that we had food pantry drives where there's an example here where folks were being asked to donate food to go to our local food pantries, those in and around University City, even on the campus of UNC Charlotte, like Jamil Niner Student Pantry or Hope Food Street Pantry, which is a part of a local church. So we work closely with the UCity Family Zone, those faith and civic leaders, nonprofit leaders, to say, what are you guys doing? What are your needs? How do we get that story out there? Partnering, we saw the Bears with Badges program with CMPD, being able to, the police department has not been in a good light, right? They're not necessarily a nonprofit, but a community partner that they've had their challenges, but there are many that are doing great things in our community. And so, showing some of those storytelling opportunities, demonstrating how they're sitting down with children, they're reading books, they're distributing bears, just some of those great things that are happening, whether it's our marathons and annual races or walks that are sponsored by or organized by nonprofits. We can share those on our website and our newsletter, get media coverage out there around it and for it, for the causes that you guys are supporting. And when I think of an organization like University City Partners, while all of you may not exist in University City, I would encourage you to think about what partners you may have out there that can be a resource. And that's what University City Partners has been, a resource for nonprofits and a resource by way of sharing your news, sharing your needs. Whether it is a blood drive that is being organized, we've been able to incorporate that into the farmers market that Sean can speak towards. If it is the food drive that you're looking to coordinate or organize, getting that in front of us. We partner with Atrium Health when they host an annual summer food program for children to be able to come in and have meals throughout the summer when school is not in session. We can get these out in front of our partners and really pull people together, like Darlene talked about with the 70 organizations, in one community. I'm sure that you guys have a lot of already partners that you're working with, or people that might be duplicating some efforts, or not even duplicating, but layering onto the work that you're doing. And so I think as best as possible, when you guys can find those partners, can connect the dots, can tell your stories together, you'll have a bigger impact. Another tip I would share with you as you guys engage in all of your communications work is to think about what conversations are happening nationally and locally. And what I mean by that is your nonprofit may have a very niche focus or cause. When is that already, when are people thinking about that? So whether you are supporting education or literacy, and we're talking about back to school time or when test results come out, that's the great moment to be able to be a part of the conversation with whatever you want to contribute and how you want to drive the narrative in Charlotte. If it is to identify new ways or innovative ways that you're bringing in tutors, or some of the obvious challenges that you have for schools, or not only the challenges. One of the things that I love to focus on is the assets and how you guys are driving change, how nonprofits are moving, how community partners are contributing something good to Charlotte to give us all hope to see the progress that we're making. So not only to complain about, or not to complain, but not only to highlight the challenges, but to highlight your wins and your successes. And those are things that I would say that local media reporters would love to see, would love to celebrate, would love to share. And I think it really motivates and inspires community members to want to be a part of your movement because they see you moving forward. They see you making progress. They see you contributing good. And so that's one of the ways in which I lead when we think about University City. We don't want to focus on just the challenges. We won't ignore those, but we want to talk about what's happening, how we're forward moving, what progress we're making, what change we're implementing, and bringing people into that fold. And yeah,
I'm going to add one more thing to Azania's comments, and that is that one of Azania's charges is to not just talk about the development that's happening, but she is charged with finding good news to share every week. Like there's a lot of things that we can talk about that are challenges and issues and things that are not going well, but she focuses on how do we bring to light the good things that are happening. So every time we sit down and we think about what are we pitching to the media, what are we putting in our newsletter, we focus on the good things that are happening. And I think that for nonprofits, we are so committed to the work that we do to create impact, to solve problems, to address challenges. Sometimes we overlook the fact that we've also got to communicate the awesome things that are happening as a result of the work, or the awesome things that we're seeing in our community when we show up, maybe and not through service delivery, but when we just show up in our communities. Yeah. So, Azania, are you wrapped up now? Can we turn it over to Sean?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for my dog to start being loud as soon as I get off mute. Hey guys, I'm Sean with Third Rock Events. And so I'm going to ask Azania to do me a favor and put in the chat all of the handles that we would love for all of you to follow about University City Partners. So University City Partners on Instagram, as well as the Charlotte Kids Festival and the University City Wine Fest and the University City Farmers Market. And of course, our friends over at Armored Cow who host the really cool Food Truck Friday. Darlene is a champion of the community, as most of you know, and it's been wonderful working with her over these years. And one of the things that we heard about University City was that there was a perception about it being outdated or old or maybe not safe. And so we had to be really intentional about how we designed the events and how we showcase University City in a different light. So I would invite all of you to really come up and check out the Food Truck Friday, because as someone who lived in South End for 9 years, they don't have anything on University City's food truck event. And it's really well done. I mean, there's live music and local shops, local businesses are there as well as the food trucks. And the farmers market is, I call it the most adorable farmers market I've ever seen. Darlene, I believe, watches the Hallmark Channel at night and then comes up with ideas on how the events should be. So I always think that someone is going to fall in love with a farmer at one of the markets because it's so well done. There's live music and face painting and of course, local produce, and it's just wonderful. And working with the library for the University City Wine Fest has been really great because they provide such wonderful volunteers and such great resources. And they also have space at the University City Wine Fest to talk about what the library is doing in the community. And then they have all of their volunteers. And you may have seen in one of the photos that the shirt says, read between the wines, which I think is really, really a cool tagline for them. So it gives people a new look at the library, which is such a big part of the community. But I think, you wouldn't necessarily go to the wine festival and think you're going to come away with better knowledge about what the library is doing in University City. And that's what happens. As well as the farmers market, we've really been able to lean on some nonprofits who focus on kids programming and have them at the farmers market doing what they do best, interacting with families and kids, and then talking about their mission statements. I'm looking at my phone. I have no new followers yet. It's very important about getting our brand out there and making sure that University City is seen in a different light, like I started the conversation with. And I invite all of you as well to really start putting on the calendars all these annual events. The Charlotte Kids Festival is an anchor for the city of Charlotte. Darlene came to me many years ago and said, what are we missing? And I said, well, the city doesn't have a spring wine fest. We don't have a kids festival, and we do not have an arts festival. And University City is proud to say they have all three of those things now. But I want to thank you guys for having me. And you can always reach out to me too. If you want to follow Third Rock events as well, you can. And you can always DM me, and I'd be glad to talk to any of you guys after this about what we do around overcoming those brand hurdles and including nonprofits at our events. Not just the ones in University City, the other ones that we work on too. We always have space for nonprofits.
We do. So what Sean just referenced is kind of the conversation that I would like to have with you is how nonprofits are such a critical component of what makes our communities great. And we try to work very intentionally around inviting our nonprofits to show up in our community, and not always through, take for example, the YMCA. We don't ask them to bring yoga or, fitness classes to our community, but we do ask them to show up and help us figure out ways to partner with the library. And maybe they show up at the Wine Fest with the library, and we talk about they capture a big number of young people in our community every day. So I am curious to hear your thoughts around how do nonprofits and community organizations show up authentically in our communities outside of just the services that you deliver? Like, how do you start to build that trust in your community and the communities that you serve when you're not there delivering services? And I want to learn from you. So I'm going to ask Chair Charlotte to kind of moderate this so that I'm not the one that's always talking, but I'd be curious to hear kind of what all of you are doing to be part of your community.
I was going to say, if anybody wants to share, you can come off mute. And if not, we have a question while you're thinking about that. Darlene Crystal Emmerich is asking, are you aware of any multi-purpose spaces for programming in U City?
We We are. And what I would say is shoot me your contact info or reach out to me after this, and let's find out how you need to utilize space. You know, we have great space at the YMCA. Soon we'll have a brand new library in University City that's going to offer great space. We have spaces on the campus of the university. We have the Shriners facilities up here. So we have a lot of options. And I would say just shoot me a note or get in touch with me after this event.
Hey, I had a question if people are still thinking about the response to what you asked, Darlene, but you mentioned at the beginning how you guys are bringing together the nonprofit community to encourage collaboration. And are those still some ongoing meetings, or there's certain times where nonprofits can participate?
Yeah, so the U City Family Zone convenes the larger community once a quarter. Those have been virtual for the past 2 years. When we were meeting in person, we would have probably about 75 or 80 people attend. Online, we probably have between 45 and 50 folks who show up. And our format is similar to this. We always start with, this is what's happening in the U City Family Zone, kind of from a steering committee level. You know, these are the things we're focused on. These are the grants that we're writing. These are the big challenges that we're starting to see in the community, just so that we can level set with an information share. And then we allow our community, we either go into breakout rooms or we kind of do a roundtable, and we ask our community to put into chat if they have things that they're working on, if they're looking for people to collaborate with, if they have events that are coming up, or if they have needs in their community. And I'll give you an example. At one of our communities of practice, our Sugar Creek Library said, our libraries are closed. Our library is still closed. We have children who are living in the hotels at Sugar Creek and 85, and parents are dropping them off at our library. We need access to safe places. You know, they're showing up, the library's closed, but the library's letting them in. They're working on the computers and they're doing the things that they need to do, but all they had were snacks. So we were able to work with some of the food pantries that are in our community, and now they're providing regular service. We're talking to the YMCA about bringing those kids out of the library and into some other environments that allow them to either, you know, expend some energy or utilize some of those services. And then some of the other community organizations are identifying who those kids are so that we can work directly with those kids to help them connect to opportunities.
Amazing. Thank you.
And the U City Family Zone has its own website. Zania probably knows it better than I do because I don't usually go on the website, but I think it's probably like ucityfamilyzone.org. And it's U, the letter U, city. That's all one word, and then familyzone.org. Any other questions for me or any other comments?
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Y'all were like 9:59. Talk about timely, right? This was perfect. And I learned so much. Darlene, I've been over here taking notes, and I like just some of the statistics and the number of organizations in UC that I'm so interested. So I want to meet and have a follow-up.
That's great. And Julie, if I can say one more thing before you close out, and I shared this with our share leadership when we first jumped on the call as we were getting ready. The Charlotte community is about to walk into another crisis. And that is that in November, 24,000 families are going to be evicted from their homes. And we are, as a city and as a community, do not have the infrastructure to deal with this. I mean, you saw that we had 200 families that we were trying to housing for them. Imagine the ripple effect of 24,000 families who are facing eviction in our city. So I want to share that with you so that you all start to think about how your organization can wrap our arms around these families that are going to be going through this very traumatic experience. So Thanks, Julie.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I don't know, we don't know exactly how this is all going to play out, but we're so grateful to all of you for the work that you're doing to support those, right, who have the greatest need in our community. Azania popped in the emails of everyone, and they're in the chat if y'all want to grab those. And I just also thought that, Christy, I love what you mentioned earlier, which is that you're so grateful to the companies who are second chance employers. And I thought that was a great shout out in University City. So thank you. And Christy's over at Hope Haven. So I hope y'all all learned a little bit about potential partnerships and what's happening in University City. And Darlene, thank you. And Zania and Sean, it was so nice to meet you all and hear more about just the evolution of what's happened, right, in University City over the past 8 years. I didn't realize that it was as new, right? Although that feels like a lot of years, a lot of progress, amazing. So thank you for your time, and thank you all for being here this morning. And we will hope to see you next Thursday. If, like I mentioned before, if you haven't registered yet for InfoShare next Thursday, we hope to see you then. But in the meantime, enjoy this beautiful fall weather, and we'll hope to see you soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks again, Darlene, Sean, and Zania.
Pleasure.
I don't know why they hang on every time.
I love the
Great.
boot option.
I know, I'm like.